In this video, we're going to go through the DaySmart Body Art program. We're going to go through those things to help you start getting set up with the program. Those things are going to be running through the setup wizard, going through adding employees, adding in services, adding in schedules. We're going to go through the appointment book screen. We're going to make an appointment. We're going to check it in. We're going to check it out. Then I'm going to run through some totals reports with you and round out the end of the call by going through some text messaging options. Before we dive into the setup wizard though, let's just briefly run through a lay of the lands. So up here you have these different subscreens that you can click on: list of clients, list of services, list of employees. If I click on more, it's going to give me more choices to go into different parts of the program here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to where it says options and go through the setup wizard. So I'm going to go to options here, and the setup wizard should automatically pull up when you first log in, but if you skip past it, you can always re-pull up the setup wizard by going to options, management, and then down here to where it says setup wizard. All right, it's going to pull up the setup wizard here, and it's a 4-step process to help you get the program set up. So we'll hit start setup. And the first thing it's going to want to know is the hours that the business is open. I already have these set, but I could, go through and list days off. I could also click in here and change the hours depending on the closing and starting times that you guys have for the business. I'll go ahead and save to progress to the next screen. And this screen is probably the most important in the setup wizard. This is where you can pull through lists of services that we have pre-generated for you. So when you first get in the system, there won't be any services. You either have to add them in, import them from a different program. We can help with that. If you have an electronic list, reach out to tech support. Or if you run through the setup wizard, you could pull through from this pre-generated list here, right? So I can pull through the ones that I need. I'm going to go ahead and just select these piercing ones. And then there's also tattoo services. Like I said, you can add these in manual. You do not have to use our list here. And the prices and durations are not going to be accurate. The next thing we're going to do once we run through the setup wizard is change the prices and duration for you. So let's just go ahead and say we want to add in piercing. We'll hit save services. And the next screen is going to be about adding in tax settings. So I would choose down here. If there's tax settings that you need to enable, we can put the different tax rates for products and services down here. You can also add an additional tax by clicking this button. Let's go ahead and save that where it is. And step 4, the setup wizard, is all about adding in employees. I'm actually not going to add in any employees on this step, but what it would do is you put in the employee's first and last name and their email, and then it would send that employee an email to then set up their account by choosing the password. Once the employee has chosen the password, they would be fully set up in the program. For the time being, I'm going to hit add employees and finish, and I'm not going to add any employees in. I'll say, yeah, I'll do this later, and I'll hit yes here. And really, that's it. That's the setup wizard. We got through that part, so I'll hit close to back up out of that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I want to check out our list of services that pulled through from the setup wizard, and also potentially add in additional services that were not in the setup wizard. So I'll click here on services, and it's going to pull up my service menu here. Okay, all my different services that I pulled through all those piercing services here. If I wanted to change one of these services, I would just click on the service I want to change, and then I could click into the details and I could change all of these details if I wanted to. So the name of the service is just its name. Category, I could just start typing in here, create a different one. I could choose a different one from the drop down. And then there's the ID number. This is normally an abbreviation. It doesn't have to be. It could be a number. It could be an alphanumeric code. Just depends on what you need it to be. Most likely, it's easy to kind of keep them as abbreviations, right? So we'll do that. I can choose a color code. I can have a special color for this service, change the duration, change the price, include sales tax or not. And then if I scroll down here to the bottom, I can also add in special employee exceptions if a certain employee charged a different price for that service and it took them longer or shorter. The system could accommodate for that. I'm going to turn that off for the time being. I'll hit off here, and we'll say yes, we're going to disable the employee exceptions, and then I'm going to save the changes I made, which were none, so that's okay. And then if I wanted to add an additional service onto the list, I just scroll down here and click on the little plus sign, and then I just add in all those details that we just saw when we were editing the service as well. Cool. All right, and once the services are in the system, kind of go hand in hand with this is setting up the employees, right? So who works there and what do they do? What do they do and who works there? Either way you want to set this up. And then I'm going to click on employees. I already have some existing employees in the system. If I didn't have employees here, or if I didn't have an accurate list, I'd hit the plus sign. And then that's going to run me through adding in the employee's name and their email and all these other details. But the most important, the required fields are first name, last name, and email, because once again, it is going to send the employee an email to go ahead and finish setting up their account. And then once they have their account set up, they can download the app, they can log in through the app, they can log in through the web browser. They'll be fully set up in the system. Now, I'm actually not going to finish this process out. I'm going to click on this little back and back out of this because I don't want to create a new employee, but I will show you the second step after you put in the employee's details. The second step is to go in the employment setup screen. This is where you choose whether or not they're an administrator, whether or not the system should send them messages, whether or not they're an independent contractor who keeps all their own totals, and down here, whether or not they are still employed at the business or whether they should or should not show up on the appointment book right here. At the very bottom, don't want to forget this is where you put in the service limitations. So let's say that this employee didn't do piercing. They did tattoo, and they did consultation, and they did miscellaneous services, but they did not do piercing. So I would turn this on, and I would just not select the services that they don't do, and then the system would prevent you from scheduling those services under that employee's name. Awesome. So I'm going to turn this off for the time being, and I'm going to go ahead and save the changes that I made to the employee. Now, once the system has the services listed and the employees, the next thing to set up would be the employee schedules. When are the employees working? So I'm going to click up here on where it says More, and I'm going to go into the Schedule screen, and let's run through editing the employee schedules. The first thing to point out here is the system just assumes that every employee is working from open to close. That's pretty nifty, but probably not accurate. We're going to change that, and so let's go ahead and pick on John here at the top. Let's say John does not work on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, right? So if those were days off, I would click on the first day, and I would say that it's a non-working day. And if it just applied to one day, I just wouldn't click this little repeat button, I'd schedule it. But let's go ahead and apply this out for multiple dates. I'll hit repeat. I'm going to say that this is an off day here, and I'm going to repeat this out on a 1-week schedule for every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as a day off, see? And then I would just choose an end date. Normally this is going to be about a year away is pretty common, so we'll go in here to a year and do it all the way to the end of September of next year, 2022. So I'll go ahead and hit schedule, and it's going to change that on the schedule screen for me, right? It's going to save all those dates for me. It's going to reflect those changes on the appointment book screen, and when I go to book appointments, it's going to tell me that this person's not working if I tried to book on a day they're not here. Cool. Now, let's say you go through and you put in all the recurring days off, but then you need to change something in the future. That's just a little bit off the beaten path, not a normal day off, let's say. So I'm going to go in here, click on the calendar. I'm going to navigate to that day in the future, and then I'm going to click on the day I want to change, and I'm going to go ahead and make the changes. So I'd say it's a non-working day. I'll go ahead and say that it's an off day here. I won't repeat it because it's a one-off day off, and then I'll hit schedule, and it's going to mark that day as off. Now let's go ahead and say that the business was closed that whole day and nobody was working. Underneath the hours open, just click this little button that says close, and it will mark the whole business as closed. All the employees will not have a schedule entered. Cool. So once you've added in the services, the employees, and their schedules, really the appointment book screen is going to start to look a little bit more useful, right? You're going to see the real people listed that are supposed to be up here, the times and the days that they're supposed to show. And let's run through the appointment book screen. We're going to make an appointment in a second. Let's just go through how to navigate around on the screen though. So depending on how you want to search through and find appointments, you can click up here and show just one employee at a time. You could show 2 employees at a time next to each other, or you could show all employees at a time, just depending on what you need. You can also choose the number of days that you want to show. So if I want to show a 3-day view, it would look like that, or a week view, or a month view, so on and so forth. Cool. So let's jump back here. Now I can also navigate out to a particular day by clicking on that day on the calendar over here, right? I can jump back to today by hitting the Today button up at the top of the screen. And then I can jump out a number of weeks down here by clicking on this little number of week counter, and it'll jump out 7 weeks for me. And then if I want to jump back to today, jump back to today in the calendar. Awesome. Now we do have a waitlist function here and a drag and drop clipboard. I'll show you that live in a second here. You can also hide this. All right, so I can hide this, or I can expand it out to see more details. All right, so let's go through actually making an appointment. So I'm going to click once on the appointment book. It's going to pull up this very simple appointment card. It already knows the day I clicked on, the time I clicked on, the employees column that I clicked on, but it wants to know the client and the service. So I would click into here, I would find the client. I could just start typing in the client's info, their phone number, their name, kind of whatever I had. And then I could go into here. I could choose the service, right? Let's just choose a really simple service. And then I'm going to just book it without going into the details screen. We're going to go in that in a second. But if I wanted to book it really fast without changing any details, I just hit schedule. And then I'm able to throw that appointment onto the appointment book. Now, I'm about to make a more detailed appointment here, so I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to delete this one. So I'm going to hit no show, and then I'm actually going to cancel this one away. So we're going to cancel this one away as a test, and I'll hit cancel on that one to make it go away. And then let's go ahead and make a more detailed appointment. Now this time, let's hit this little plus new client to add a client into the system as we're booking. So go ahead and add this client in, right? And then we're going to go ahead and say, all right, we'll say this. Okay, and then I'm actually going to put in the real credentials for tech support. This is the best way to get in touch with us, is to either call on the phone, send us a text, or an email. Sorry, not a text. Send us an email, or go online and you can chat with somebody on the website. That's another way to get some really quick support on the program. So I'm going to put this stuff in here. I'm going to turn off the notifications. You normally would leave this turned on. These are the notifications to let the client know about their appointment, like when you schedule it, and a reminder the day before. So I'll go ahead and hit save here, and I'll add this client into the system. You're going to notice that on this new create appointment screen, it's going to say the new customer's name up here. It's also going to have a special notes section to look at previous notes, view upcoming appointments up here, recent visits, and also photos. So I have the ability to look at all that stuff without actually leaving the make appointment screen. So if I wanted to go ahead and throw a service in here, let's throw a tattoo service on here. So we'll choose this one. And then as I'm booking this appointment, I could change any of these details, the price, the duration, the person it's with, the time it starts. But let's go ahead and type a little note down here. All right, to just show you that function, you can type a special note on the appointment. It's going to indicate that with a little symbol on the appointment book. So let's hit schedule and throw this appointment into the appointment book. And there it is. There's our little symbol with our special note, right? So you can just hover over it and read that note. I wanted to point out I can move the appointment. I can drag it around. I can drop it on a different day, a different person's column. I can also drop it down here in this little clipboard, navigate to a day in the future, and then drop it on that day in the future, right? So a couple different ways that I could do this. I'm actually going to put it back in the clipboard, jump back to today, and then drop it back on the screen for today in here. All right, so I'm going to put it right back where it was, like that. So I can drag and drop. I can use my little clipboard. But let's go ahead and pretend that this person is coming in for their appointment. So normally what you would do is you click on it. You would indicate that the person is going to check in. So I'll hit this little check-in button right here. That's going to check in the appointment, change the color, have this little symbol appear to let you know that the appointment has been checked in. And then once the appointment has been checked in, maybe you want to open up the client profile and look at their details, their previous visits, their previous purchases. So let's go through what that looks like. I'm going to click on where it says appointment details. That's going to pull up the appointment screen. And then I'll click where it says view profile. So I'm actually going to open up a new tab when that happens. And the tab is going to be on the client screen, and it's in the full client profile here. So I'm on two tabs. I'm on the appointment here, and I'm also looking at the client profile here. So this is where I could add in the additional info, like the client's address, how did they hear about me, special comments down here at the bottom. There's a history tab, and that's going to have a bunch of different information about previous appointments and also total money spent, total visits. There's a balance and loyalty points section. There's a form, an integrated form section for forms that they filled out, a notes section, and then also photos. Now photos are going to be a little easier to upload if you have the app downloaded, because you can actually use the camera on your phone or your tablet to take those pictures. All right, so once I've looked at what I need to see here, I'm going to close out of this tab and go back to the appointment, right? So here I am on the appointment. And let's say that I indicated, or I saw that we're going to do another service on here. So we're going to add another service on here, like so. And then we'll just hit save to save those changes. Now, we're going to double book. If you look at the appointment book screen, we're going to have some double booking happening here. That's okay. The system will let that happen. It will just show you through spacing that there's a little bit of an overlap here. Now, once the appointment has been checked in and the services have been rendered, maybe I want to go into the appointment details and leave some notes. Maybe I want to go into the photo section, upload a photo. But once I've done that stuff, I would basically just be clicking on the appointment and going to the checkout flow. This is going to go ahead and indicate how the person is paying and close out the transaction. So let's hit checkout here, and it's going to pull up the checkout screen. I can go ahead and add in additional items for upselling, right? Products or things like that. Gift cards could be added at this point too. I could change the pricing. I could delete, services away. I could add stuff in. Then once I've made all the changes on this screen, I hit proceed to payments, and it's going to walk me through the payment screen, right? So you would just select the method of payment that the customer was using, and then you can just indicate the amount and cash them out. Now, if I hit this little credit button, it's going to pull up this banner to try to get you to sign up for the integrated credit card processing. It's the easiest way to process credit cards. But if you don't have that, just hit no thanks. And then in here, you would just indicate how the person is paying. So let's say they paid with, we'll say cash. And we'll say that they paid a total of $250. And we'll go ahead and add that payment in. Okay. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see all the payment details, right? The amount of tender given, and then the amount of change that's due back. But let's say that part of that change was left as a tip. So I could click on this little add tip option, and I could go in here and indicate that $20 of that was a tip for the employee that performed the services. And I'll go ahead and hit add and add that on there. All right, so $20 tip, $250 payment, $20 change. I'm ready to close this ticket like so. And it's going to ask me if I want to print or email a receipt. Don't need to do either one of those if you don't want to. I'll hit skip for our example. And then there is a rebook option to jump into a rebook screen. We'll actually click calendar and jump back to the calendar. All right, and you'll notice that this appointment that I had is blacked out to indicate that the appointment has been closed. So once the appointment has been closed, you'll see that special color. You can still click on it and go back and look at the details or rebook the appointment after it's been closed as well. Awesome. Now, let's switch gears a little bit because that's like the daily usage kind of setup. Normally, at the end of the day, when your day is over, you're going to go through and run reports. There's a lot of reports in the system. I want to run you through one of the most common reports. I'm going to click up here on more, go down to reports, and I'm going to go into favorites. And on the favorite list is this sales totals and sales tax by range of days. So if I click on this one, it gives me the ability to select the number of days that I want to run this for, right? So I would choose the number of days that I need. Let's go ahead and select this month. So we're going to do a totals report for this whole month. And then we're going to go down here to employees to show. And we'll just say, you know what, show all of them. And we'll hit run report. And let's see what we get. Probably not very many totals in here. And we're going to scroll down. Yep, okay. So we got product totals, service totals, taxes, tips, credits, gift cards, loyalty points, and then it's all totaled down here. All the different payment types over here would show. And if I click on any of these where it says details, it'll pull up a detailed breakdown of, a list of transactions from where these totals are coming from, right? So I can click into any of these and see these details for the payment type or for the types of service. So if I scroll down a little bit further, it also breaks it down person for person. So each employee, what were their totals? How many transactions did they have for whatever date range that you're selecting? Now this report has the ability to be printed and exported. I can click on either one of these to continue to kind of manipulate or work with that data. Awesome. There's a bunch of other reports. Strongly encourage you to go through and peruse these reports. For our video here, we're going to skip some of those and we're going to actually jump over to options and talk about texting. So the texting option is very, very popular. Almost everybody uses this. And you would click here on options and go over to email and texting. And you would click on where it says reminders and notifications. Now, if you don't have this service turned on yet, it's actually going to walk you through a screen where you have to turn it on. You have to put in your business information before you get to the screen that I'm looking at here. So you've got to sign up, put in your business credentials, and then you come to this screen, which is where you configure how the notifications are going to send. I have the reminder set up to go one day before as a text and an email. I could look at the email or the text, or I could change the template. And then also, they're going to have the ability to confirm, and they're going to get a confirmation message. Additionally, I could send them an appointment schedule notification or an appointment change notification or an appointment canceled notification. There's 4 different types of notifications you can kind of turn on, and some of them give you the ability to turn on notifications for the employees. So for instance, if you schedule an appointment with an employee, they would get a text message and an email because this is turned on. Cool. Like I said, the text messaging is a very, very popular part of the program. Almost everybody wants it. If you have any questions about anything that we went through, though, definitely reach out to us. That brings us to the end of our video. Really, this is going to help you get started with the program. But like I said, call us or reach out to us if you need any help. The phone number is 1-800-604-2040. Once again, it's 1-800-604-2040.